Hi, friends. Courtney here, and I'm so excited that you are with me tonight. It is Wednesday, and welcome to the podcast, Cosmically Connected. If you are here and excited about finding out how your physical space is blocking your money, you're going to want to stay here and tune in to the 10 tips I'm going to give you. So just stay tuned with me. Guys, thank you again for being here. You're watching Cosmically Connected with Cortney Kane Sides. And don't forget to follow my own personal YouTube page at Cosmically Connected with Cortney Kane Sides. My friends, do me a favor if you're with me in the comment section, let me know where you're watching and listening from. Always so excited to have you guys here. And every week we meet at 7 p.m. Central. So guys, thank you so much. Listen, we are going to dive into this subject of a mess. How are we blocking our beautiful abundances coming in to our life, our blessings? How are we blocking our blessings, right? So let's see. Canada, Houston, Springfield, Missouri. We've got Canada again in the house. Couple Canadas. I love it. Mason, Missouri. The Philippines, Dallas. It's so awesome. So friends, listen. I was getting our house ready for kind of a hosting thing a couple of days ago. And as I was picking up my pile of shoes under this exact desk, this is where I podcast very often. This is where my private virtual sessions are. And when I was picking up that pile of shoes, I sat there and thought, oh my gosh, how in the world is this pile of shoes? Listen, this is honest, blocking so much of the beautiful, abundant energy I'm ready for. I want you to ask yourself, are you doing that in your own life? Do you have a pile on your nightstand? Do you have a pile in your office? Do you have a pile all over your home that you're not taking care of? How are you not taking care of you? And let me tell you, friends, this is blocking you from, yes, the money coming into your account. That maybe that even that promotion, you're leaving every moment when you're leaving that space in that room and it is not the way that you want it, my friend, you're saying, it's just fine. That messy is good enough. There will be something more on the table for you later. And I'm telling you, that's not the case. If you're wanting true abundance, listen, I'm finally getting it. I want to say at the ripe old age at 47 is that godliness is cleanliness, right? Gosh, such a big aha moment for me again yesterday. Guys, we've got England in the house. We've got Salt Lake City. We've got Texas, El Paso, Nebraska. If you are with me tonight for the first time, do me a favor and subscribe. Hit subscribe, hit that like button, and please send this to your friends, okay? So here's the first tip. I'm going to tell you, assess your space. I want you tonight, after we're done with this podcast, I want you to walk around your space, your home. The space that you're living in is what you're saying yes to in your life. We're talking energetically, physically, emotionally. And that physical space is an absolute representation for what you're holding within your energy. It hit me as I was getting this home ready for a certain something. Later, I'll share that with you on another podcast. But as I was doing that, I sat there and thought, think about how you're feeling when you walk into, like, on a vacation and you walk into that beautiful hotel room, right? Many of us have that big exhale. And it hit me yesterday that very often, I know for myself, it's because I walk in and there's no clutter. There's no junk on the counters. Am I right? How many of you guys understand and know what I'm talking about? If you do, put an emoji right there in that comment for me, okay? Do that with me right here today. Let me know if you're noticing piles, if you're noticing blocks. I'm telling you that those piles are in direct correlation to you being attached to the scarcity in your life. I'm 100% sure of it. We've got New Zealand in the house. We've got New Jersey in the house. So again, assess your space, my friends. Take a long, thorough look at your home and the way and what you're saying yes to. And ask yourself, is this serving me? If you're not taking care of it, why not? Are you not worthy of taking the time for you? I have a dear friend that often she says, don't put it down, put it up. And so what I've also noticed, and I'm going to call out my fiance, Ethan. He's so much more tidy than I am. But what I notice, he's also late to so many different things. I'm calling him out. But what I realized today as I was help brushing my little girl's hair for school, as I was getting her ready and we were about to walk out, and I turned around and looked at the countertop and her toothpaste is sitting there, her toothbrush, her hair stuff, her whatever was just on the counter. And I stopped and I took a breath in and I said, "Hey, wait just a second. How about we put those things where they go?" What I realized was, oh my gosh, maybe that's why he's late. Take a breath in, my friends. There he is. We're calling him out. He gets it. But maybe he's late because he's putting himself first. My gosh. It hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm always rushing from one thing to the next. Do you know what happens then? I'm putting myself to the last thing to take care of. Everybody, if you're feeling this, take a good deep breath in with me. Big exhale out. I want you to know, like you know, like you know, that you, and as I say you, we, me, I am worthy of taking a few minutes to take care of exactly what I need to, so that when I come back and walk into my space, guess what? It is clear and it is clean. It hit me like a ton of bricks a couple days ago, guys, as I was piling my shoes up in my arms. Those shoes, again, they were under this said desk that I'm sitting at right now. I walked in and thought, oh my gosh. Every time I sit down for a session, I take my shoes off, and apparently I just leave them there. I don't pick up after myself, just in leaving it there. And as I picked them up, I walked out and I thought, how in the world can the universe, can God provide more? Take a breath in, friends. If I'm not taking care of what I already have, who needs this? Mama Love says I need this. Mm. You've got Connecticut in the house, friend. Thank you, my friend, for being here. Mm. Pray 7 says your message hit me before this live event. I started cleaning more. LOL. I love it. These aha moments, I want you to think about it. When you're in the process and you're even processing your own experiences, your own thoughts, you're receiving guided insight from your guides and angels, from your ancestors, your loved ones, from source, from God in those certain moments. I'm telling you. And if we are present in those moments as we're carrying our baggage or our mess out of whatever space that's in your workspace, your home, your closet, your whatever, and your mind is drifting to those past hurts and those pains, they're drifting to the reason maybe why you do that, or it's drifting to why it's necessary today for you to see it in a new way. Those, my friends, are so important. Miller Times is talking about feng shui, question mark, or however you spell it. And you spelled it almost perfectly, Feng. But I wasn't talking about feng shui, but it is absolutely related to feng shui. Yes, of course. So yes, I'm not, but we are. We're also, by the way, going and leading into the season. I always think about the season before it happens because sometimes I need a little time to do all the things. Clearing out the clutter, my friends, for those of you who take a while to get those spaces beautiful. Let's get ready for the feng shui season, which is typically February. Start getting those houses ready in January, right? And start to do those things that's going to take care of you and your heart. So something, again, that I learned in the past few days, a couple days ago and again this morning, is maybe it's okay for me to be late if I'm taking care of me. Maybe it's okay for me to put the makeup. How many of us girls, by the way, my makeup counter on that side is usually a mess, usually covered in hair products and all the things, while Ethan's is beautiful and very clear and clean. but it drives me nuts. But it's an absolute example of me rushing to the next thing without fully taking care of my heart, my soul, my energy, and me. So while you're walking around your home, your office, your spaces right now, and you're seeing it, I don't want you to have, and by the way, we're going to get to those 10 steps, multiple steps, by the way. But as you're walking through, I want you, without judgment of yourself, to take a breath in and maybe first ask yourself why this is the way that you operate or why this is the thing that you do. I asked myself a couple of days ago, and my mother was a bit of a pile maker, is what I'll call her lovingly. And she was wonderful. She was a wonderful woman. And I asked my highest self while I was having that, bearing that witness to that thing that I do without judgment. And the thought that came to mind was, my mother growing up didn't feel safe in the home. Will I ever get confirmation of that? No, but that's how it felt to me. And so while you're having these aha moments with yourself, your highest self, God, source, your guides and angels, maybe ask yourself where this starts to trickle into the way that you show up in your life, right? Pray 7, thank you. Mama Love, thank you so much. You guys showing up, I'm telling you, this podcast, I so appreciate you guys being here and following and connecting. It means the world. I do offer private sessions in my business and my work, but this podcast is, of course, another way of income into my life, my family, all of that. So I appreciate it. I thank you. I appreciate you. Def Fidel, I think I'm pronouncing your name wrong, says, wow, this is so me. How many of you understand what I'm talking about? So I ask you, if you are one of those pile makers, or let's say reformed pile makers, because that's what we're going to be. Everybody take a good deep breath in, big exhale out. Where do you first remember maybe you doing that, you starting, or maybe where did you first start seeing that as something that was showing up in your life? It's a very, very beautiful introspective way to start asking yourself, more about you and your own energy. By the way, when people say, Cortney, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? I believe our purpose is to understand ourselves more fully, therefore understanding the world around us, okay? So this is part of your spiritual purpose and practice. And my friends, every cluttered spot I now understand is blocking me from allowing more energy, more beautiful blessings, financially, emotionally, physically, all the things into my life, right? Miller Time says probably stems from trauma. High five. I would say 100% stems from trauma. I would say yes. Pray 7 says, I try to stay humble. Much love and light to all. Thank you, my friends, so, so much. So number 2, we said assess your space, walk through and take a clear ownership and understanding, and be a beautiful witness to your energy, right? Set clear intentions, by the way. Define what you're wanting to achieve by the decluttering, by the clearing out, by understanding that you deserve a beautiful space. You also deserve the fullest of beautiful abundance and energy coming to you. And so write down affirmations. I'm creating an abundant, organized space to focus my energy. Okay. I am creating an abundant, organized space to focus my energy. And you can even say to bring in blessings and abundance for life. You can say this. Judith, hi, Judith, my dear friend, says piles pile up and then things get out of control. Yes, it does. And before you know it, it's overwhelming, right? Somebody says, I found this for a reason, looking at a pile of clothes now, so distracted, doing nothing significant really. TYSM for this. Thank you so much, I guess is what that means. Listen, and says, I needed that. Thank you, Lilikoi, my friend. Thank you so much. We've got Washington in the house tonight too. So again, guys, start small. That's number 3. Start small. Don't walk in that garage and say, this is what I have to do. And yes, this is a feng shui energy thing too, for sure. If you're looking at different corners and piles in your life, in your experiences, you might find that those piles always operate in, say, the relationship part of the corner. And if you are always with me every year, you know, we have my dear friend Sandy Sue. She's a feng shui master. She's with us at the beginning of the year, every year on this podcast. And she walks us through all of that beautiful information. So I encourage you, if you want to learn more about that, to go back and listen to an old podcast with her on it, or find her. She is absolutely amazing, I'm telling you. But start small. That starting small is something that's going to absolutely help you in your life and in your experience. And I want to say too, this, by the way, we have a guest that's going to pop in with us tonight. I'm so excited they're here with me. You might know this person. Number 4 is use the 4-box method. This is label, and you're going to label 4 boxes. So you're going to keep, donate, trash, and a maybe box. Something that also helps me when I'm in the mode to clear things out, by the way, is get a trash bag. And immediately, don't make a pile for the trash. You grab a trash bag. I like paper. I make notes all day long. So this desk will get a pile of paper. I'm telling you, when you are starting to say, okay, I've got to clear this out, don't make another pile. Grab a trash bag right then. I'm telling you, it's going to help you. When you clear that stuff out, you're going to see more beautiful things coming in for you. I'm telling you. Rena says it's a wall of protection, and yes, 100% due to trauma. Yes, so on point. And guys, welcome my dear friend. You may know this fella, one of my best friends in the world now. Hi, my friend Roderick.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Can you hear me
Yeah,
okay? Testing. Can you hear me okay?
we can hear you, and we're so excited you're here. Listen, my friend, so today you and I were talking on the phone like we do weekly, right?
Weekly
Sometimes
with 2 E's.
with
Yes.
two, with plural, right? Two
Yeah.
E's.
Yeah.
And multiple times weekly. But the reason why I was like, hey, pop on with me, we were talking about this topic tonight, right? On the phone. I was saying, hey, this is what the topic's going to be of the podcast tonight. And I was telling you, and you were like, oh man, I need to hear that. Wait just a second, right?
Yep. We were, you know, it's like, I don't know, I think sometimes we just don't realize it's like that frog thing, they talk about how you can put a frog in hot water and it'll jump out, but if you put it in water and gradually raise the temperature, it won't realize what is happening to them until it is too late.
Yes.
So it's kind of like those things because we just get used to our surroundings and stuff. So
And we then later we don't understand how fast it piles up either, right?
yes, yeah. And I see Judith is in the chat. What's going on? All right. So I'm just looking over here at my computer.
Judith is with us. We love her. So listen, do you think that, and sometimes like holding on to the past, past hurts, past pains, past all of that, do you think that sometimes the past blocks us from being able to let go of some of those things that are piling up in our life?
Yeah, absolutely. I learned a way of looking at this, and this is an analogy that I would probably use for anyone. It's almost like you're trying to go up a flight of stairs. Okay, so just visualize you getting ready to go up the stairs, and you take your first foot up the first step, your bottom foot stays at the bottom. And then you say, okay, let me try to hang on to the past, but go up. You take that same leg and go up to the next step. Eventually, at some point, that spread is so far because you're keeping your past on that bottom down there, you can't go any further. You can't go up the steps any further until you let it go. And then you got to gradually let it go. You got to take it up the step and a step. And eventually, when you look down, you done left it all downstairs.
Well, and you can't even, you're going to stop being able to even gradually move forward or go up that flight of stairs. And so it does hurt us. Praise Seven, thank you, my friend, so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the Lion King. You remember the scene where Simba was talking to the monkey, Rafiki, and he hit him in the head, and he goes, "Ouch!" And then he says, "Well, that hurt." And then he tried to hit him again. He ducked. And he says, "Yeah, but that was in the past. Now you learned from it." So Those are one of those things. Yeah.
Now duck, now you get to duck. Judy
Hmm.
says both of you are awesome together. Love the dynamic. I know this is my
Yeah.
friends, right? We like coming back together every week. And so I think this is the thing that I was sharing with you about my pile of shoes and how I just realized that,
Yeah.
wow, that listen, so many of us pray for something new to come in, or we're all praying for abundance. And that abundance can mean different things. It can be money for one person. It could be abundant love, abundant heart, abundant peace, abundant connection, whatever, a physical something. But if we're not taking care of the thing that we've been given already, how in the world are we going to be offered more?
Yeah.
When we spoke about that, Roderick, you were like, oh my gosh, that makes
Yeah.
such sense, right?
Yeah, it's all about stewardship, and it's no different than growing an audience. If we can't, how do we get bigger if we don't harness the love for the smaller audience? And I say this because I remember when I used to speak to one person, I spoke the same if I was speaking to 1,000. And I cared for the one as much as I care for the thousands. And those take you into that. But then there's sometimes people forget those things, and we forget the little small components that adds up to what's holding the chair up. We don't look at the four legs anymore because some of us can't see it anymore anyway. But you don't look at the four legs and you forget what actually is holding you up in the righteous way, because you don't caretake it or tend to it until it's a little too late. And that's just life. And we talked about that. We talked about, one of my past relationships, 10 or 15 years, it was a long time ago, but there was a sleepover. We were adults. And so we woke up that morning and she was just looking around my place and stuff was everywhere. I call it just being messy or whatever. And she said, my grandmother said that anyone whose stuff is just laying around is depressed in some kind of way. And I was pissed off to the highest of festivity, with the way it transpired.
Tell them what you did. Tell them what you did. Tell them what you did.
So I told her, you know what, you can go, because I was done anyway. So I was like, you can go, and I hadn't talked to her for a while because we had some other kind of conversations. But then probably a few years ago, I called up and it was like a 10-year span and her number still was the same. And I said, I just want to apologize to you for that moment. And she almost had forgotten about it. And I said, you were spot on. Because now when I look around and I'm trying to work and I got stuff everywhere, it's just showing that my mind is in a chaotic spot. Something is bothering me or worrying. And so in order for me to get a clear mind in the visual space, it's no different than me sitting back, closing my eyes, meditating, counting, going into the other realm to get away from this side of things, to gather myself. But sometime in the presence is just as strong as it is. And it's a visual thing. And that visual thing is the worst of them all.
You said something. You said, why? I've got to take care of the one like I would many of them.
Yes.
Right? As far as like in an audience. And so you say that, and literally my mouth just fell to the floor. How many of you, when he said that, understood that, some of us, listen, I've lived in small apartments, I've lived in bigger homes, I've lived in all of that. And if we're not loving and showing up and caretaking these spaces that we've been given or that we've worked so hard to have, listen, I've always been a person where I felt like I was not necessarily of this world. And so I like nice things, sure, but nice things do not rule me. I'm not a physical whatever. So I've always been kind of like, whatever, frivolous about it for 47 years until 2 days ago when it hit me again.
Wow. 47? You 47?
47.
Dang,
Yeah.
47. Whoa. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
47, yes.
That's my what's his name, Don Cheadle impression on Kevin Hart. 47? All right. No, you're good. You're doing good for 47. Yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend. It's 47 years wise, right? That's how I feel about it. But it hit me that it's not really about like this stuff owns me or that I care so much about this stuff. It's that I've been, that I'm holding space for what's being given to me. It hit me in a new energetic way that I feel like I can now understand that there is a connection to source, to God, to the energy that's being gifted to me. It just hit me in like a ton of bricks. So I want you guys to really value your mindsets and the way that you're viewing these things, that maybe you've understood it to be in a different way a billion times. And so I would say my number 6, for, we're going through a list here, my friend, 10
Oh, okay.
things, ways to get through it, but establish a regular like decluttering schedule, right? And for me, it's going to be in every moment, everything I'm doing, to don't put it down, put it up, and to make sure that I'm leaving the space or the room and taking the time to take care of it, which means it's actually taking care of me and my own energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a
Yeah.
little difficult for me because I don't see the storm until the storm is there. So it's like, it's like a pat rack thing. You're just gathering so much stuff until there's no more room for
Mm.
nothing else there, is when it comes to my conscious mind. And I do need to recognize the first stage of it, like that don't belong there. But long as it's not in my way, I just keep adding and adding and if there's a space, something is going there. So my motto, it was, there's a space for everything. But that's the wrong time to think about. It's not, there is a space for everything, but not right there. you know.
Well, if
So
there's no space for anything more, then how can more come into our space?
true. I think so. And I think that's that thing where some of us, one man's trash is another man's treasure, where some things we can just go take to the Goodwill or give it to someone, call a friend, and hey, you might want this. And it's not that you're looking down on them. It's just you can make room for your gifts, and then at the same time you can gift to someone else. And I think that's something that I've done a few times in a garage sale. I'm still selling it, but at the end of the day, you clearing out the clutter. So yeah.
I mean, we just had a big garage sale just a few months ago, and I think that always feels good to get rid of things. I mean, I think whether you're giving them away to somebody who needs them, whether it's free or whether you want to replace, the thing by putting whatever you're selling it for towards the other thing that you're doing, I think that that's a beautiful thing. But the point is making sure that we're all also, regardless of homes or whatever, we're all living in a space that's worthy, right? That we're all taking care of it to our fullest degree, so that, because we know that we're worthy of it. I remember being a young girl and my house being so messy. And for me, it was like, that was okay because it was just clothes,
Yeah.
clothes or whatever. And when I don't take the time to finish from one thing to the next thing, that for me is like a disaster. So if I'm rushing, that's the worst thing for me. If I'm rushing from one thing to another, I feel as though I don't give anything my fullest attention, which again then blocks the thing I'm doing, the thing that I'm giving my attention to. It's blocking abundance from whatever that is. And so if I'm with you, Roderick, I'm sitting here thinking, if we're talking business, if we're talking ideas, but I've got piles and piles of backed up stuff, and I'm talking laundry or something that I'm ignoring, how in the world is that also blocking the ideas and the flow of the energy and the abundance that's going to come through in any other form? I'm a firm believer in energy, and I know that it is all absolutely connected.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you're 100% correct. And just like when we talk offline, I kind of ask some of the weirdest questions. So I don't want to deviate this conversation. So when you
Yeah.
finish your 10, since we're all talking about clutter, we're all talking about these things. Is there, and we'll talk about it afterwards, when you finish, and or here online or offline. They may not even want to hear this conversation. If
I
y'all
bet
want to
they
hear it,
will.
just put it in the chat if y'all think y'all want to hear this. But
Listen,
the,
well, pause real quick, because I think sometimes those conversations are probably the ones that we need to be airing. But
well,
anyway,
this one is kind of offlandish a little bit, but could there be a clutter of spirits I need to clear out around that's around me? You know, because over time you're gathering so much. What's on me? How do I, because sometimes I feel, you know, how you feel that weight of something, but you can't see it. And then when you're thinking and trying to go into that space, you're hearing so much voices and things. It's like some of y'all don't need to be there. You get what I'm saying? So maybe we can cover that. They may not want to hear all that, but if they do, they'll let us know in the chat. But when you finish, I definitely want to know, because sometimes I feel like there is a clutter of spirits tagging along, and I need to know, how do I clear out these so that the ones who need to be with me come into the space?
Okay, so listen, so we are going to get to that, and I think everybody is, I mean, because it is all related, and I love that you even go there. M142 says, let's hear it. So we are going to go there, okay? Miller Time says, burn sage. That's right. So I do feel, and let's just go there first, and then we'll get to number 7. So,
okay.
Well, number 6, actually. We'll go back to number 6. But as far as that goes, first of all, if we're talking energy, listen.
Right.
Many people who have even sometimes paranormal experiences will have a clutter of things in their home. And now sometimes it's a clutter of emotional stuff, but you can see the pile up of energy. And so everything has energy to it, right? So if think of it this way, if you've bought stuff from garage sales, estate sales, whatever, sometimes there are even memories and energy connected to these belongings. You got it, right? And so people are willingly bringing these things into their home, sometimes even forgetting where it came from. And then all of a sudden, take a breath in, guys. Maybe they might start to feel even heavier and heavier and heavier. And so it is, I believe, important to go through 1G force. That's true. I do believe it's important to go through and make sure, if we don't love it, maybe it's time to get rid of it. Thing. If you walk in, Sandy Sue, my friend, who's the feng shui master, if you walk through your home and you're like, yeah, it's okay, she would be like, ooh, gross, get rid of it. Because energetically, if something that's like, it's okay, is taking room in your home, friend, that is your energy. That is your space. And you're saying, so-and-so is like half sees energy. It's okay with me. Yeah. And so we're saying we're not worthy to love something. I would rather now have, Ethan and I talk about this all the time, our attic. I would rather have a clear attic and have not a lot of junk in there. And listen, many of my loved ones are gone, my friends, by the way. So many people get real hung up on getting rid of things because they're like, well, my parents have passed and I have all of their stuff. And so we get very emotionally attached to these belongings too. Then we feel guilty, or we feel like we have to keep them because somebody has to keep them. Sandy Sue's suggestion is to take a picture of the thing. If it truly is no longer serving you and nobody in the family wants it, it's time to donate it to somebody who will love it. If you don't love it, it's time to let it go. Because if you don't, you're saying, nah, it's okay. But back into feeling the weight of the clutter, and we're talking spirit clutter, it is absolutely quintessential to clear the space for your spiritual health too, your mental, emotional health. So you're spot on, Roderick. Spot on with it.
Well, and you said something, because I have a friend, she's a ghost hunter, and she talks about sometimes going to people's homes where they bought things from garage sale, dolls, furniture, and it came with spirits, and I think it's a pretty challenging when you think about that, because even myself would say, if I'm going to latch to something when I leave here, I don't want to be a doll, put me on something that's moving around everywhere. I don't know why would a spirit get into a doll. We're not talking about Chucky, but you get what I'm saying. It's like those things, and maybe that's something we can talk about another time, and just understand that, because I used to be an avid garage sale shopper on sale. It was just my favorite thing to find books or rare things going around the garage sales, especially these estate sales where someone has died, right? And then you hear them say, "Yeah, that's my uncle's favorite thing." You were like that. And those are the ones I stay away from. Like, nah, I ain't taking that sugar honey iced tea home. No, you can keep that one. You know what I'm saying?
I think if it's coming into your home and it's going to be something that you value and love, I have some things like that, but I love it and I feel as though it's got good energy.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're tuning into it, and you're seeing if something's funky, and first of all, if we're clear, I want to say like clear vessels, if we take care of ourselves, we can typically tell what's for us or what's not for us. And so you even said, you're like, how do I kind of make sure that it's good or you're not feeling the heaviness of that? You said a word, you said meditation, all of that. And so something that many of us do, whether it's weight that we're keeping cluttered on, because I've done that in my life for sure. Or
you mean like weight, like the weight of like body weight?
Well, sometimes we do this, but sometimes it's a protection.
I mean, I got a lot of clutter. Something.
Listen, my friend, you've been.
I've lost some few though. I've lost some few. Yeah.
Yes, you have. You've been working on it. I'm so proud of you. We've all been, yes, on top of our health. We're trying to anyway. But what I'm telling you about that too is just like stuff, just like physical things, we latch on and hold on to stuff because sometimes it feels as though we're like it's a protective layer around us. So sometimes we feel held when really we need to feel that from within and feel our space. I know, and you're getting into it, you're doing it. So to me, that is meditation and prayer. That's massive and key, by the way, my friends. But establishing, let's say it again, decluttering and a schedule of trying to find the time for us to take care of ourselves. For me, I'm seeing it in a new way than I really ever have. And don't I deserve to walk into my podcast room and my desk be beautiful and not have, papers all over the place, which is what I tend to do, and so we're all worthy of it. But also watching what happens. How do you feel? Let me ask you this. How do you feel when you walk into a beautiful, pristine place that feels like everything is in its place? Does it feel good?
You're talking about a hotel room? Because I don't have it here at the house. I don't have it at the command center. I mean,
a hotel room, somebody.
A hotel room, you paying for that. It better be that way. You get what I'm saying? If things are out of place, I'm picking up the phone, calling room service, and maybe I should have that much care for whatever. Now, for the first time, like my new live stream setup, and I haven't live streamed a lot for the audience, but starting in a few weeks, it'll be 3 times a week. Now I got they can't see it, but I got a whole setup here. But it's clean, it's clutter free. I'm just sitting here chilling, you know what I'm saying? Just chilling. Yes. But this is probably the area that I've spent the most time making it happen over the last week and a half, but when I look beyond this camera over there and then over there, it's like, it's not in my way, but it's there. So I got a lot of stuff to unclutter, I would say. But to answer your question, when I do achieve that on my desk or something like we talked about today, it does feel really good. I can think, I could pretty much function but sometimes it takes me back into where I've made struggling a habit, right? Where that clean area makes me feel like I ain't doing nothing, or what am I doing next? It's like, because I'm so used to so much mess in front of me to deal with. Yeah, and when it's not there, I'm like, oh man, so I get to think,
That's why we create it, my friend, is we create it because that is, I believe, listen, this is my own therapy session today, but my mother, she loved things to be beautiful and clean, but there was always one room where when people were coming over and we were like, oh my gosh, there's clutter out or whatever, we would all grab whatever that was and throw it in that room and shut the door. And we were like, don't open that door. That one little thing that has messed with me. So I'm real big on, nope. If it's a mess, I'm not going to go hide the truth. That's where I've filtered it into my life. I'm no longer going to run around and make sure everything's perfect for everybody else. I cannot live like that.
Now,
But
I just get warning signs. I'll be like, before you enter here, know that I don't have time. Now, my father,
yes,
okay,
let's hear it.
my father told me this advice a long time ago. He said, son, when you invite a woman over to your house, and maybe so many have failed the test. He says, when the one that gets up and start cleaning, that's the one. He said, if she just naturally goes in there, start cleaning and just organizing you, he says, that's the one. That's what he told me. I've been having a mess ever since, but I'm saying that he said that's the one.
We want to make sure she's also taking care of her own mess.
Well, there too, but remember, she's coming over visiting, and she sees your chaos, and her saying, "I'm going to, organize this situation." But he was just telling me, he says, "Man, that's going to be the one." He said that'll be the one because she's not looking at the chaos; she's going to look at bringing the peace to the situation.
Well, yes, and I hope that you would get up and help her, my friend. Listen to me. Look at me trying to take up for the women with it. But yes, I get it. I understand it. Cortney,
we're talking about just small stuff. We're not talking about moving furniture and moving, the trash bins and all that. Just
she's wanting to take care of it for you. I understand.
Yeah, just little stuff. So.
She's like nurturing you is what I'm hearing actually.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that, yes.
Well, Cortney says, I have always made struggle a habit. How do I change that? So I think maybe we all, I don't want to say that we all do that, but maybe we've done it in our own way. Let's say it like that. And I think having the awareness about it, it's like my next number 7 was create financial awareness. And maybe it's not even just financial awareness of watching, even if we're messy in regards to our accounts and how we spend money. Do we track it? Do we keep track of the energy around it? And so maybe it's less about having judgment that we always encourage the struggle to be there, but it's because we've gotten so used to living within the mess or the struggle. What would it feel like to invite it into your everyday life? To me, knowledge is power. So it's no longer pretending that it's something other than what it is. And it's, for me, I want to say now it's like accepting something other than the highest form of connection. If that's how I am, my heart and my spirit, and that's the energy I want to bring in, then shouldn't that be what my desk should look like? It should be all of the same frequency. And so I think that without judgment, when we can making sure that we give ourselves time to tend to it. So being aware that we've made struggle a habit, let's start to breathe into the truth of that. So when we start seeing that, oh, there I go doing that thing that I do, that breath, that awareness, and doing something right there in that moment to shift it, which means how can I get out of the struggle with whatever that is? If it's a financial struggle, how can I be more mindful about where I'm putting my energy and my time, and what are we making the priority? Are we running to Target? Are we running to go do this or that? Or are we doing and taking care of our finances in the highest way too? And also practicing gratitude. Roderick, I know you practice gratitude, right?
Yes, I do. And I would like to add to what Cortney was saying. And maybe if Cortney, if not you, but that Cortney.
Yeah, the other Cortney.
If what I'm about to say kind of goes with what you're saying. See, for me, I did realize I was making struggling a habit. And this was because I was taking so much affirmation from people saying, "Oh man, you're a go-getter. You always on the grind. You're always blah blah blah." And that became part of my persona, so to speak, where I'm always on. I'm making sure, and like I was saying earlier, if I'm sitting around and like it's clean, I have nothing to do, or you gotta go bring that chaos back. You gotta go put something else on your plate. You gotta accept something, some chore, some task or something, or start something else, especially in business mode. See, this YouTube thing have taught me the ultimate patience that I have. I've thought I had some patience. This is a marathon, okay? Seriously. But in business stuff, you will be so much in a startup. You like to be creative. You like to, oh, I'm working on this, I'm building this, I got this. And then when you get all of a sudden to a smooth area, it doesn't feel right. And so you add something else to it to bring the struggling back. So that's when I start realizing, man, you're making struggling a habit. It don't have to be this hard. You paid the dues. You have done the work so that it is simple. It is supposed to be easy because your experience and wisdom is kicking in. You're in this other side. And so that's something I started learning, especially now as I'm going into symbolism and all of this stuff that I'll be teaching people. But it is a point that we have to shut off those outside voices that we're taking as a positive. But if that programming is negative, it's not working for us until we have self-realization, and then we understand ourselves and what we're doing, and identifying the problem, as this Cortney says. We got to identify. You have to identify those things and begin. And this is going to take some being alone, not just alone. I'm talking alone with you, your consciousness, your thoughts, your mind. You're going to spend some long, and there's nothing better than the point of me going through this experience after I had a divorce with the she-wolf, and going through the COVID, being up in here all the time, and then you're by yourself. And especially when you're talking to hundreds and thousands of people, except for people like Judah, yourself, and a few people that I would talk to on a regular basis, no one talks to us once we off this live.
Yeah.
No one really cares what's happening with you when, Christmas or the holidays. And when you're on live, they're all chatting, or I get emails, hey, tell me about this, tell me about this. But when that thing goes down, sometimes the assumption is, well, he's busy, or he's doing all of this. Some days, there's days that I'm sitting here thinking, but now I cherish it. Now it is the time that I want. I want
you're liking you. You're spending more time with you.
Yes. Yeah. I love to me. I really love to me. I just do. And I think it's something that a lot of people will discover, and not look at the point of being alone, but you're not alone with yourself if you can get to know you. Yeah.
First of all, amazing points. And I agree. I think that so many times we are running from ourselves. And I really value my downtime. I call it, I always say, as much peopling as I do, I need equal amount of downtime. But I think it is important for us to understand that we are worthy of having a beautiful space. Taking care of it. And if you're not loving your space, I've lived in spaces where I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here, just like many other people, right? But taking care of it in a way that shows the universe, God, source, such appreciation for what is here, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's just a really, really interesting thing. Pineapple says, must be disciplined and being in present moment. That is key. I 100% agree. And somebody earlier, the comments already come and gone, but mentioned something about how extremely important it is to really watch the frequency too of these things,
Yeah.
So it does feel like it's extremely important to understand that your energy, what you're bringing to the table, really does matter. And if we're talking in terms of letting the scarcity go in our life, and we're ready to shift it, in whatever form that is for you, the way that we start is on our own turf. Yeah. The way that we start is where we are sitting right here, right now. And so back to that gratitude, though, even every day coming back to, okay, even if you're not exactly where you are financially, what can you financially, show gratitude for? Is it because you can listen, you've got your podcast space, your offices, your all of that, you're able to do that, you're investing more into business, what is it? Even if we might not be exactly where we're wanting to be, what is it today in this moment that you can come back with gratitude for? Yes.
You remind me one time I was at church.
Oh, yep.
A long time ago. I used to go to the Potter's house.
I love
And
it.
I remember this lady was preaching in place of T.D. Jakes. And she was doing a sermon, My God, Am I Not Enough? I couldn't get with it. Everybody was jumping up because she was like, you got to praise, God for you're not enough. And she was having people say, not enough of this. I don't have enough of that. And I understand it was the gratitude thing. And I was in a situation where I was like, I'm not I'm not happy with this situation. I need to approach the throne with some authority, and I need you to change this now, Lord. But she was saying, just be satisfied, and then you'll get your mansion in heaven, so to speak. I just, oh my God, it was a 2 weeks of just turmoil and then finally I just said, okay, I'm happy with this nothing that I got, and I'm not saying that things change from there,
right?
But I get what you're saying. Yes. Now, today I am totally grateful and I do express gratitude for every moment and situation that I'm in. So I would assume at that time my mindset saw things a little different, from there. And so, yeah. So I would just say that it will be difficult if people put blame in the situation and not looking within themselves of what they can change.
Yeah.
And it's almost saying when the pain of change outweigh the pain of remaining the same, will one change? So that'll be the thing to go with. Yeah.
One of my favorite quantum physics quotes is nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So if we're wanting something to shift, we're often the one, if it's our own life, we're the one that has to kind of put it into effect. And it, to me, I say it often on this podcast in terms of many different, topics, but go grab a drawer. If you're feeling stuck, go open a drawer. And I have lots of them that probably need some organization, but open a drawer and maybe just start there. And as I say that, it's also okay to feel the overwhelm. It's not going to kill us. And some of us, and I know that this word, I throw it out quite often, and I'm going to work on this word, and it's the word busy. I'm so busy. Busy. I'm busy. So busy. And that feels like nothing but excuse in this moment. So when we're finally sick of our own shit, right? Our own stuff, that's when the true change is going to be made. I'm telling you. And so it does feel extremely important to not make excuses anymore to the things that we need to accomplish and do, especially if we're not happy with where things are. So you are the only person that can say yes to the change that needs to happen in our life. And therefore, sometimes it needs to start from the office desk. That's where we can start to make the change, right?
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. I just, even though I will say to most people, identifying that change is going to be the most difficult part. And it's like a book I would recommend anyone get, Who Moved My Cheese.
Ethan's dad just bought him that a couple of years ago for Christmas. It's still,
oh my God. I get my kids, everybody, friends. I used to ship that out 5 or 10 years ago. I would buy 10 copies a year and just ship it to people.
Okay, I'm gonna make you do that. Okay.
Yeah, that is the best thing. And you can identify yourself with one of the characters, Sniff, Scary, him, or Hall, in the story. It's just one of the most amazing, simple reads, but it makes the most biggest sense of life. And just metaphorically, it's just saying, cheese could be your metaphor for money. It could be job. It could be change. It could be anything. But cheese has a thing when it begins to get bad, it goes through a cycle of spoil and all of this stuff. And a lot of us are going through these things in our lives, but it could be a relationship with someone that you need to move on from. If you don't take time to smell that cheese and see when it's making the change, not when it has changed, so that you are
Mhm.
adapting yourself, you can wake up one morning and it's gone. The job is gone, or the situation has left, or your opportunity has left. And now you're sitting there going, what happened? What happened? Somebody moved my cheese. When you should have seen what they call the writing on the wall.
Yeah,
So the writing on the wall in my life was I wasn't going to accomplish the things that I was dreaming about over here, because now you start thinking about the pillars of knowledge. You're thinking about natural laws, I would say. You're thinking about knowledge. You're thinking about data, the input of information. Then you're talking about decision making, and then you go. So if you don't acquire the knowledge baseline, period, and stuff that Cortney is teaching right now, if you don't take it in and then apply it, then you're not going to go into the next phase, which this particular phase is going to get you to where you begin to harness this knowledge, right? The next phase is decision making, because from the knowledge awareness, you got the input of data, then you're going to make those decisions, and then you're going to have the manifestation. And now what I realize that the manifestation period of where we are is based upon the decisions that we made through the lack of information and the will to search for the knowledge. So it goes all the way through those four pillars, and we have to begin. So I started my knowledge process all over again a few months back, in this conscious thing and everything. And then now I'm harnessing it, now making different decisions, and now my manifestation is totally different. And this is where we're expecting the same thing over here, but we think we know it all over here, and we're not re-teaching ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
That's our homework, everybody, right there.
Yeah.
That book literally is on Ethan's nightstand. I'm going to read it.
Oh, it's a great book, man. It's a great book.
I'm going to make Anderson read it. She's so smart.
They got one for kids too. He got a Who Moved My Kid. Well, have her read that one, because I've talked to Anderson, so she's totally in tune.
She's a huge reader. She loves to read.
Yeah. So have her read that one.
I bet she can do it. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, everything you just said hit my number 9, the visualize abundance. So if you were like, I could see it, we could feel it. I want you to envision that space as if it's brand new. You're walking into your space, and where can you start right now, and how would it feel if everything was already like just in the place that it needed to be? And I'm talking emotionally, physically. Start to kind of infuse your own frequency and energy with the shift already being like taken place. Like, how would that feel? Can you put yourself in that experience? And I think that when you do that on a frequency level, you're gonna want to attune to that space more often. So maybe that can also start to make that shift for you. And I'm telling you guys, when we're talking about making these emotional shifts, these physical shifts, you're going to see it in more abundant, happy, joy, love, financial abundance coming into our life, because we're making more way for something that serves us at a higher frequency. I'm telling you that works, right? Dr. Strange says it's hard to visualize abundance when you already have a bunch of stuff. It is now. See, if we don't, it's not even always stuff. By the way, I'm actually going to look at my phone real quick. There's something I screenshot earlier. This is not mine. Oh, if I can find it, where'd it go? It says if your business, this is just something. And so when I hear abundance, this is what it means to me. Yes, of course, we all want financial and joy and love and abundance all in those ways. But when I read this, I was like, yes, it says if your business gives you the freedom to go to lunch with your partner or take your kids to school whenever you'd like, you're already a successful entrepreneur. Listen, I've been doing this work for over 20 years. And there are months that are easier and years that are easier than others. But I've been a single mother while creating this business, and I'm now in a beautiful partnership, which I'm so grateful for. But when I read that, it hit me in all of my feels that true abundance to me is not just financial. Of course, that's part of it. We've got things we want to do too. But that right there, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, because I today, my first daughter, I did not get to pick her up always from school. I did not get to stay with her always when she was sick. I did not get to do so many different things because I was busy working and hustling like so many other people in the world. But today, as an older mom, and as a woman who gets to dictate her calendar and her schedule. Now it might mean at 8 o'clock at night, I'm sitting here on a YouTube channel while she's, cozy and her doing whatever she wants here at the home, but we're together. I got to pick her up from school. I get to be with her when she's sick. All that is so abundant. So even if we're not talking about physical stuff, my friends, abundance finds us in all forms. And we have to understand that it's not just a physical, tangible thing. And by the way, when we're talking about clutter, what are we holding on to emotionally? What are we allowing to take up space in our life that really no longer serves us? And also, number 10, by the way, invite positive energy into your life. So incorporating calming elements into your spaces. Anything when you walk in and it feels like a big exhale, that's something that's going to serve you. And something that also, when you look at it, it feels as though it's giving you life force energy. And so what would that look like to you if it's not keeping all of the ancestors' belongings and the antiques, and you're just holding on to them, but you hate them, they're ugly, you're just hoping that maybe your kids want them someday? Ask them, do you want this? If you don't, I think I'm ready to part with it. Your loved ones on the other side, by the way, don't need you to hold on to that stuff. They're not attached to the physical.
I think, one of the most beautiful things with you, Courtney, is even like when we have an event, you bring your daughter, she's there.
Mm.
And I think what people miss is that when they support your show or they do things, they get to see the lives that they touch, because it just don't stop with you. It's not, this square is not just you in it. You're pouring into your daughter and other people and all of these things. And I think that's what the most beautiful part of all of this, especially being able to be that mom, picking her up, and she can watch what you're doing right now. She's seeing her mother make a difference and pouring into lives, things that she might take for granted today because it's a full-time mom there, right? You're this constant thing. But later on, all of this stuff she's going to remember, all of these moments, it's just going to continue to pour. So it's not that you can literally teach her a lesson by talking to her, knowing she's over there listening subconsciously. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That is a beautiful thing, because I used to take my children with me when they were young, and people were like, oh, you brought your kids. Now I had to because there was no other place. But then I would tell them, I just want you to see the lives you touch. Your money just doesn't stop with me. Yeah. Because it is bigger than this, and so I think that's a beautiful thing, and having that freedom to be able to do it, and now, like, even in business, and because I am totally married to this journey of YouTube stuff. That's all I talk about. I want that YouTube stuff, right? But it's like, okay, I'm going to marry my business, and if I get a wife, I'll make my wife my mistress. Oh, that'll be so much fun. That'll be so much fun, right?
Well, it's going to happen. This is the cool thing too, though, is because I remember, listen, I think if we're talk about the clutter, Roderick, and so as we're working on the physical clutter in our own life, and we are removing the emotional clutter that also goes in tandem with it, because it does. It just simply the way it is. What happens is we make room for that relationship to come in. I mean, that's exactly what I did in my own experience in life. And the kind of relationship I have. And I'm telling you, my friend, when you're putting the focus on helping others in the way that you do and bringing information to light and all of this, I'm telling you that that relationship that will be so beautifully for you will fall into a place. She will be right there by your side in the most beautiful way. I know it. Just a little bit of love for you, my friend. Yes.
Yeah. And it's not something to take lightly when you're not just leading, being a servant leader. It's not something you take lightly. And there's days that it's going to be heavy. But at the end of the day, when that when you're reading things objectively and you say, well, I'm not just learning, I'm learning to teach. That's a whole different perspective. and it will take you into a whole nother way of seeing things. But you said something that just hit me when you said physical. I think about it now of, when I do my gateway meditation, that I'm more than my physical body. I can see without this physical matter. And, I started to realize this construct, so to speak, that we're in, that I am consciousness awareness. We all are just single awareness, but and that this is a physical reality that I'm in. And just like anything else, that programming, like she was saying, for us to get rid of this clutter, it's here. It's going to go into this conscious awareness. And way I'm going to throw this out there is that's when I realized that I'm living, even though, and I've said this before, some people may say, well, who are you? What do you do? Most people say I'm Roderick Martin, blah, 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 podcaster or whatever. Sometimes I'll say now I am consciousness awareness, living the experience as Roderick Martin, this 400-pound YouTuber. And then when I start realizing to say that, that's when I start saying I need to change that reality of how these people see me. I can do that. I can literally change the physical reality. Now, people thinking in linear time, so they're going to just see the progress and maybe they don't. But if somebody disappeared and came back a year from now, they're going to see a total different reality that I reprogrammed in this conscious awareness so that you will see me not 400 pounds anymore, but less, or not this type of person, or not this unorganized individual, all of these things. So we have the power to do that. So you got to go inward. You got to go into that headspace. Like she was just saying, you have to. It's not done. You can look at this physically all you want with these set of eyes that lie to us all day long. So like I look in the mirror for years thinking I'm just fine and nobody really told me. You know what I'm saying?
Rick, you are. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying, and I say this because I'm constructively okay with who I am to say for those who are not, but I love myself and I have a lot of confidence in things. Otherwise I wouldn't even be on camera, right? Yeah. Or whatever. But I do say it so that people who could be in this position of thought can know these thoughts exist. But sometimes you can just laugh at yourself. You can say, well,
anyway,
boy, yeah.
Yeah, and to do it anyway. I mean, we all have those self-limited moments. Yes. And to do it anyway. You just said something that just felt so powerful, my friend. You said we all have that power to change this physical body reality.
We do.
We all have that connection to the conscious mind. And that, listen, when you said that, there was such an ownership that I could feel, that you were also an example of what that looks like for other people to say, wow, I actually do embody that power to connect and change my experience that I'm having in this human life. Right.
Yes.
And so, and not attaching to that linear timeline, but to tuning into that frequency and showing gratitude for that shift and that change that one might say is going to take a year or 6 months or 3 months, but to tune into that today and now and taking ownership of that also is exactly in direct correlation to what we're talking about tonight, where if we know that there's changes that are being made in our homes, in our physical spaces, just saying, take a breath, right? If we understand, right, that it is so important to go ahead and tune into that shift, that higher frequency, into that clear, beautiful space that we are so beautifully deserving of. And when we make room for that change to be made, that abundance finds us in all forms. That shift and that change, it is upon us.
And it's very powerful, because what I discovered personally was that the minute I started to say, I'm no longer going to live this experience. I'm no longer wanting to experience the life of this overweight person at the time. Mm-hmm. That starts sending the messages up to the computer programming, and something miraculous happened. And I didn't even know it was happening until I realized I wasn't buying all this bitter honey and candy anymore. I just didn't even know when did I stop. Obviously, the programming shift to where it began, and it was just it was unconscious or subconsciously, right, happening. Then the desire, once I started, okay, I'm gonna go down to the gym and I'm gonna do these things. But it all started, had nothing to do with how many people was in my ear. Hey, Ryder, you can do this. How many diet programs that were, I'm reading. All the TikTok videos of people showing before and afters and never show their stomach where they got sliced open and cut all that stuff out. I don't know, but it wasn't until the headspace changed. And then I realized that, wait a minute, it's all up here. Now, of course, there will be people who will still see me today and they're maybe like, okay, well, maybe there's nothing changed. And there'll be people who will run into me when they met me in high school and they'll be like, well, oh, you done changed. Now, you know how they say, well, you uppity now, or you this. And that's that cognitive dissonance, people. They don't see the new physical reality that you have changed. So when it comes down to this clutter, period, it's just going to take a block at a time. And this may be as primitive and crazy as it can be, but I'm not lying to you. It's not a Rain Man or whatever. I literally will take this desk, and I told Courtney today, I will take this and put it in squares. That's the only way I can clean it up. And I will move stuff from this square to this square. And eventually, this one is piling up. It's the last one. And then I can go move it somewhere. Now, it may move over there. Now I'm cluttered over there. But eventually, it can make its way somewhere else. But that's the only way. For some odd reason, yeah, some people can come in here. I've had Lonnie, her and her husband will drive up. And they'll come in and go like, oh, my God. Then they'll run over to Dollar General, and within hours, this stuff is spick and span. And I'm walking around like the king and like, man, it's just so. And then next thing you know, a week later, I'm like, where did I get this stuff? Now, is it abundance? Because I got stuff everywhere? Or is it messy? That's my question for you. Am I abundant? Am I in abundance, though?
Do you listen? Sometimes we collect the things that are the opposite, so that we at least feel something.
Yeah.
So let's be particular, and I say this to you and to us, to myself, let's be particular and selective of what it is we're allowing in. And so do we love it? So I'm going to take that from my dear friend. Do we love it? And if it's not love, why are we holding on to it? It is energetic, and we're.
But what if we think it's love, though? Because if we haven't really experienced love to distinguish, sometimes some people got a lot of pain on them, and they think it's love, or they're doing things that they think is love because they don't have the option, not the option, but the alternative choice of not choice either, because everybody got a choice, but just to know this is not that. You know what I mean?
I think if you have a question, then maybe it's not time to let that one thing go yet. So the things you know that are not love, those are the things to start with. So as far as your moving pile from here to here, I want to say, look, I'm like, let me grab it. I'm going to grab it. I have this little pile right here. I'm going to show it. I want to grab it. So you talk about it. I'm like, look.
There you go. Look, just pile it all up. Yeah.
But it's not my whole desk, and it's just right here. So if I can go, it's a beautiful painting. But if I can go through this one pile, that's not a big deal, right? That's fine. That's doable. But do I need all of it? No. So this, yes, we're talking about a small pile, but this holds energy.
Yeah.
And so is this keeping me from the other kind of abundance that I'm asking or wanting in my life?
Or it's keeping from something to go in that space that's useful.
Whether it's taking physical space or energetic space. That's the thing. It is taking space, and we're exchanging something for it. So is this worth, or is there something bigger? Do you know what I mean? So
I get what you're saying. You gotta outweigh that pain.
You got to find it. Do I love it? Do I
Mhm.
love it? And so that's the thing right now. I do think Phoenix Feather says, ask your higher self if you need it in any way. And if it's a no, then let it go. Let it go.
But see, now Phoenix just said something that I was trying to allude to.
Yes.
Clutter. She says, well, is it a he, she? I don't know the pronoun, but anyway. But ask your higher self. But what if the possibility that there's a clutter of voices and things up there? You don't know who's talking because you haven't cleared out those bad spirits or
Well,
disconnected from the energies of bad past relationships, or
that's a whole nother podcast, but that is such, we should have that
Okay,
conversation. So this is
gotcha.
the way it feels to me. And I always say, how do we know until we're there? But how it feels to me, if I don't believe if we're not emotionally and energetically all like constantly working on ourselves. And I mean finding our centered space of source, God, universe. For me, that's what that is, right? But then emotional health, mental health, if those things are not balanced, we have no business. That's my view, my friends, connecting to the ethers, because you're picking up on the clutter of spirit 100%. You're picking up on lower grade energy. How in the world can you tell what's a highest energy to the lowest of energy? So until Miller Time said discernment, that's exactly it. So if we are not centered individuals, I don't believe it's healthy to be connecting to it all. If we are,
Makes sense.
it will feel, it can be a mental health issue, and you can actually go into psychosis, which is very scary. And so I don't encourage that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I get calls all the time, especially in the UFO space of, was I contacted? I heard voices, or something told me to do this, or I heard, and people speak that way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the question would be, who were you listening to? Because once again, we have these other spirits and things that's out there, and you just don't really know. But you just said it though. If you get in tune with yourself, the more confidence of understanding that you are now in a pure place and you have done the shadow work and things, then you're going to know. It's like you're not going to hear those things because you're protected and it's blocked and all those things. So I
Well,
think
you're
that's,
connected to
yes.
that space.
Yeah, you're
Well,
plugged in.
yeah, and what's also interesting, you just said something and then I just lost it. I don't know, it was in and out. It is interesting. I think that if we're truly connecting to our highest selves, it's also going to feel well, first of all, the work is never done. That's what it was. You said if we've done the work.
The shadow work, yeah.
And the shadow work is actually never done. That's it. By the way, when I was speaking at the very beginning of this podcast about me carrying that pile of shoes out of here, me viewing and witnessing what I was doing is part of that shadow work, and me feeling like, oh man, what does that feel like? And while some person said they might have looked at me in that moment and me understand it from an emotional, energetic space, another person could have been like, what the hell are you talking about, Courtney? You're just picking up your mess of shoes, right? And so I believe that shadow work, moment to moment, us reviewing and examining our life experience, is the point and the purpose of our human experience. And so you will see lots of spiritual people say, well, I did the work. I wish they'd do the work. They need to do the work. I wish and the work is never done. So we never fully arrive, because we're also always in a state of learning. And that's
Question.
it.
I got a question.
Yeah.
One, and then I won't take us off the chart.
Okay.
All right. So you have sage. You hear a lot of people use sage, right? And is that to clear out unwanted or spirits, correct? Is there a frequency? This is, and let me know if this is a dumb, question. I have my beeping sound. If it's a dumb,
beep.
Yeah, it's somewhere, but yeah. Anyway, it's there. It's there. But if spirits or frequencies, yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's frequencies, And then I come in here inside, I'm just going to sage this command center is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that I'm getting rid of good spirits too? Because I'm saging spirits, and in my mind and the intention is like, I'm getting rid of all the spirits, or should I say bad spirit? And then the other bad spirit, like, well, I'm really a good spirit, Roderick. Don't get rid of me. You know, I mean, just jokingly saying, but is there a global, or how do you know that you're not knocking off the good, the bad, if they're
I
in that
think,
world? You know what I mean?
I think you have
Is
to
that
know.
a bad question though? I mean,
No, I think that's a very normal question. I think it's a
okay.
great question. And somebody else probably has that question, which is why you're probably asking it. This is how it feels to me. I think when I sage, and by the way, I don't sage all the time. I have sage. It's in my office.
Okay.
Usually I have some here, but I've maybe saged this house home. And for me, it's because with my breath, I keep my spaces clear. And so I don't know that we really need anything outside of ourselves to protect our homes or our energy. That is my belief. You might go to somebody else and they'd be like, no, she's crazy. And you believe whatever you want to believe. Whatever is your truth, that's your truth. I honor it. However, when I do and when I have saged, I always ask nothing but the highest, truest, or the best to manifest upon this home. And so with that, I'm asking my guides and angels, source, God, universe, but also my loved ones, my ancestors, they are of that highest form of connection. And so to me, I'm never without them. So I do not believe what is for me that I'm getting rid of. I believe that what is not for me is what's leaving. That's how it feels to me. Got it? So if you think you're clearing the good, then you're clearing the good.
Yeah.
If you want to reframe that and be like, nope, my people, I'm leaving here. You got to know, like you know what you're doing. And from that awareness is where it is. You got it?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, guys, listen, Roderick, I love you, my friend. Thank you for being
Same here.
You're my friend. You know that. Guys, who wants more podcasts with my friend Roderick and I? We have some chit-chatting to do.
We're planning to do a conspiracy psychic podcast. And we're just trying to figure out a format that we can tap into both sides. Because I think conspiracy, we need some psychic information when it comes down to these good old conspiracies. And so we thought about it, and we still thinking about it, and we're putting it into action. So if any of you got some ideas of how we could integrate those conversations and tap into a lot of these things, y'all let us know and put something together and pretty much. But in the meantime, hit the like button here, share the video, go over to her personal channel because she's going to start putting a lot of special things there. We've been talking, so make sure if y'all have not subscribed, go to her personal channel and subscribe to her YouTube channel. And and as well as here, of course, you're going to get every Wednesday here like clockwork. But
there.
There you go. There it is right there.
Be very proud of me, guys. That's not an easy thing. So Roderick is like, let's throw this up and that. Listen, do me a favor, go there. I'm so excited to be growing that channel, but then also to be doing anything with you, my friend, is always such a gem.
Hey, it's all good. Tell Ethan and my friend, tell her. Well, she's good. She's asleep now, isn't she? No.
Miss Anderson? No, it's 8:03. No, she's not asleep.
Okay. And we are planning to do a live event in Oklahoma.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're planning on doing a live event in Oklahoma. So we'll probably get that going in the first quarter of 2025. So if y'all come down, spend some time with me and Cortney, we're going to have some deep stuff going on. So y'all want to be part of that too. And we'll be putting some information out there pretty soon. All right. Much love, sis. I will talk to you.
Friend. And thank you guys. Make sure you're following Roderick too. And so, yes, my friend, I'll see you later. I'll see you guys later.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. And I'll see you later. Okay. Bye, guys.